Well, hello, everybody. My name is Tiffany Jo Baker, and I am here with my friend Stephanie O'Hara.
Hello, everyone.
And today we just thought it would be super cool and kind of fun to just talk and just share about our surrogacy journey. So we're titling this All Things Surrogacy. Stephanie is an intended parent, her and her husband, and I was their surrogate and carried their twins. So you can imagine all the experiences we've had together, all the questions we've received over the years.
Oh my gosh.
So we thought it'd be a good idea to just kind of get together, put it on a video, and just share. What do you think, Steph?
Yes. Yeah. And this is totally a conversation. There's nothing that's been, like scripted. We have not rehearsed. This is completely off the cuff, just two dear friends having a conversation.
Yes, it's going to be real and it's going to be raw. And we did take a moment this past week and just kind of compiled some questions that we normally get asked and that some people online wanted to ask. And so we may be referring to those questions or people who asked them, but we have not rehearsed answers. We have not talked about this. This is just going to be purely informational.
Yes. Tiffany, do you want to just tell everybody about your fabulous self before we get started?
Sure. I don't know how fabulous it is, but I sure start. Well, I'll kind of tie in like surrogacy and my journey and why, the big question of why, like who I am and what did it. Well, growing up, I was the oldest of three girls and never in a million years would have thought that God would have given me the gift of pregnancy and would use me in this way. Growing up, I thought I would be, a CEO. I thought I would start businesses, run businesses, who knows what. And it turned out that when my husband and I got married, we started wanting to have kids. I was easily able to get pregnant within the first month or two of trying and realized that that was just a gift. And really how my God put surrogacy on my heart was we had a 1-year-old, got pregnant quickly with our second, and I went into work that day. I was a preschool teacher at our church, and told my friends who were preschool teachers that we were pregnant. And I looked around the circle, and one of my dear friends who I was in ministry with, I just saw the look of joy and pain just flash across her face all at the same time when I told her we were pregnant. And she had never said that they were dealing with infertility, but they didn't have kids. She was a little bit older. And right then, like my heart was pricked and I realized, oh, shoot, she's wants kids and she doesn't have it. She's dealing with infertility. And in that same moment, I just felt like the Lord just pricked my heart. And I thought to myself, I would do that. I would carry somebody else's kids. Wow. And so that's kind of how the thought even originated. It took about a couple years until we knew we were done having kids, that we knew that we wanted to pursue researching it. Because back then this was like, golly, Selah was born in 2005. So this was a long time ago.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. And so I put in my, I approached my husband and said, what do you think about me carrying other people's children? He's like, he's used to my ideas. And he was like, well, what does that entail? So researched, we made it a decision as a family. I found a local Christian agency, put my big, thick application, they ask everything in the mail, because back then it wasn't electronic. It was print off, put it in the mail, put it in the mailbox. And not even 24 hours later, I got a call from that agency director saying, I have a couple that's been looking for a surrogate like you for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how it started. So that was journey number one.
Wow, I didn't realize that was so long ago.
Yes. So I put in the application at 2009, and delivered those twins in 2011.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then
journey number 2,
ta-da!
decided to do it again. And the Lord connected us to y'all. New agency,
Yes.
new experience.
Mm-hmm.
2000, we got matched and went through the process, and your twins were born in 2015.
Cannot believe it's been almost 5 years. Does it seem like 5 years?
No, not at
No,
all. I still think of them as like just babies. And
I
they're
know.
not.
I know. They are not. They have opinions, and they will tell you.
What about you?
So
Yeah, tell us your journey to surrogacy.
yes.
And about you.
Well, my name, I've got to put my glasses on because I can't see very well up close. Okay. My name is Steph O'Hara, and I live in Oklahoma, and I am a mother of 3, thanks in part to Tiffany. I am a new author, and I have a memoir coming out in August of this year called Your Angel Wings. And it's about my 6-year infertility journey. So I have a 12-year-old boy, Aiden, and didn't really have any complications there. And then when we started to expand our family, a couple of years later, I could get pregnant. I just couldn't keep pregnancies. And so over the next 5 years, I had 7 miscarriages or tubal pregnancies, and each one kept getting more and more dangerous than the last one. And we went through IVF at CCRM in Colorado. And my last pregnancy was through IVF. And although I got pregnant, I miscarried in church. And I was pretty far along, and it was a very dangerous pregnancy. It was a partial molar pregnancy. And so I knew I had to hang up the dream of ever being pregnant again because it was just so dangerous, and I was already a mom. And it's an interesting place to be, secondary infertility, which is where you become infertile after having your own child, because you know that you should be grateful for the child that you have, but you have this desire to have more kids. And you're told by people, oh my gosh, you're so lucky to have Aiden. And yes, I was lucky, but my heart's desires were for more. And my husband and I had always dreamt of a big family. So after those 7 losses, we had some embryos on ice. Ice baby. Sorry, I had to make that joke. And so we had these embryos left over, and we were praying about our different options, and we knew that we wanted to explore adoption. But we also wondered, well, we have these embryos and they're biologically ours and they've been tested. And so what would that look like if we hired a surrogate? And my very best friend and next door neighbor tried to carry for us. But after 3 months of trying, she was unable to move forward. The fertility treatments didn't work, and she found out she wasn't able to get pregnant anymore, which was so sad. And I joke with her because, next to Dirk putting a ring on my finger, it was the sweetest offer, the sweetest gift that a friend could give.
Yeah.
So that experience, we knew we wanted to try to find a surrogate. And, this was not my plan B, my plan C, or my plan Z. It was not like on the horizon for us in the beginning. And yet, we prayed about it, and this is where we were led. So we reached out to a couple of agencies, and literally that afternoon, they started sending us profiles before we had ever even signed any kind of contract. And so I started looking through them all, and it was just, I was in awe that these women would do this for a family. And Tiffany, your profile did not come along until, I want to say like a week after we started looking. And I looked at you on paper, and I read your story, and I saw your smile, and I mean, this sounds cheesy, but I knew you were the one. And our families seemed aligned. You were a person of faith. We were both married to farmers, farm boys.
Yep.
And you lived just a couple of hours away. And I could just tell on paper that you were somebody that I would want to be friends with. And so, long story short, we went through the process, which you and I can talk about. But we talked over the phone first. And then we met on Cinco de Mayo. It's our anniversary, by the way.
Yeah.
Our 6-year anniversary, I guess it is. But and then, kind of the rest is history. I mean, it was, let's see, May to August. So it was what, 15 months later, you gave birth to Stella and Smith. And we are forever bonded.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's my
I love it.
My side of the story, if you will.
I love hearing that. And I know that's so helpful to some people just to see the step-by-step process. So I know one of the questions that people have asked wanting to know from you is, how did you choose the agency?
Well, I only talked to 2 agencies, and they both were very timely in sending profiles over. In the end, for me, it wasn't so much the agency, it was you. Okay. And we chose the agency because that's where you had come from. So it wasn't so much that. I mean, I did vetting, of course, once we decided, hey, Tiffany is the one, and we wanted to make sure that that agency was on the up and up. So we did our vetting, but it wasn't so much the agency as it was the surrogate.
Okay. So agencies send you profiles prior to signing. You sign that you're with the agency once you find your surrogate. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Good to know.
So Melanie M had asked a question to you, Tiffany, and it was, what made you decide to become a surrogate, which you already answered that. Another question that a viewer had was, how did your husband react when you told him that you wanted to be a surrogate? You said it surprised him.
It surprised him. I think it's, since I'm an idea person, and I kind of hit on that he's used to like these ideas coming from me. So it's not somebody who'd be like, no, like he's somebody who's like, okay, tell me more. So we really went on this like fact finding, decision making, like how would that affect us? What, and for us, it was a very big faith thing, a very big part of a call, a purpose. And I always tell people, like, who I do it for is more important. Like your who you're aligned with is more important than your assignment. Like, so the call of being a surrogate and carrying a baby was secondary to who we were doing it for, because at the end of the day, we saw this as a life-giving mission and a way to continue kingdom and to do what we were put on the earth to do. So it was really important, even, seeing y'all's profiles and hearing,
of course,
and hearing about, the families that we could potentially be bonded for forever and carry their babies for. And just, that you mentioned that our core values were similar, beliefs similar, and knew that it would be like, we would be friends, like we would be on the same page, like there wouldn't be unnecessary stress or tiptoeing. I've heard of, and every journey is different. Some people jump into it and they want it purely professional. They want it, they don't, there's some intended parents that don't come to appointments. You and Dirk were at every appointment. We were together all the time. So just knowing that we had the same thoughts and desires and expectations on what the journey would look together during it, and open to what it had after too, and how our families would continue to keep in touch. So
that's right, which we do.
we do.
And that is important to share with people because whatever your wishes are, communicate those on the front end. And that way you can make sure that you and either your intended parent family or your surrogate are aligned on that. There's no right or wrong. If you don't feel comfortable going to the appointments, or if you don't feel comfortable having a relationship after, or if you're unsure, communicate that. And I think as long as you're communicating what your desires are and your wishes, you really can't go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I don't think we did this. We didn't meet with a counselor together, did we? We met separately. I think we met separately.
I think you're right. I don't think that we did that.
Yeah, I don't think so. The third journey I did, we did meet with a counselor. So me and my husband and that couple and a counselor. And it was just to go over expectations, communication, the exact things that you're talking about in a setting. And it was just something that I think started to become normal in the process through agencies. And so that's another, recommendation is to just start like that too, with not necessarily a mediator, but somebody who could help, just flow the conversation. And some agency directors do that too. Like Shiva, our agency director, when we were on the phone talking, would kind of help direct the conversation with questions and expectations. So just keeping that open, which was so nice.
She was great about that. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should pause for a minute and go over kind of the difference between a gestational carrier and a surrogate.
Okay.
Because, I think a lot of people, I call you a surrogate because most people, when I say gestational carrier, they don't know what that is. And it, requires a pretty in-depth explanation. But so an IP is an intended parent or intended parents. So those are called IPs. And then the whole infertility world, TTC means, Tiffany?
Trying to conceive.
Yes. So there's lots of abbreviations, but those are two of the important ones. So a gestational carrier versus a surrogate. So a gestational carrier, Tiffany, that's what you were for us. Mm-hmm. Our embryo was fertilized in a lab, and it was my husband's sperm and my egg. And it was frozen, as we talked about earlier, or they were frozen, and they were transferred into you, our gestational carrier. So you have no genetic link to them whatsoever.
Right.
I know that was so hard for my dad to understand.
That's
hard. We had to go back and have a biology lesson. Yeah, but and then a surrogate, that is where the surrogate typically donates her egg, and then there is a sperm donor, whether it's the intended parent or just a sperm donor, if you will. So she is genetically linked typically to the baby in that case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've also heard of that as traditional carrier versus gestational.
Yes.
Carrier, which
yes,
people don't do traditional carrying anymore, which is the biological connection. Most don't do that. It's mostly the gestational carrier, like you were talking about.
Yes. Do you want to pick a question?
I do want to pick a
viewer question.
I would say, let's talk to us about how your husband handled the whole process and the option of surrogacy.
Yes. Well, he has always been very supportive. Dirk is my rock. He's my my partner. He was just extremely supportive. I remember reaching out to a couple of agencies, and I hadn't really chatted with him about taking that step. We had been entertaining it. So he came home and I had all these profiles, and he kind of went, okay. Kind of like you. I'm the ideas person, and Dirk is the one to kind of pump the brakes and think things through. But Dirk could not have been more supportive. And I just think my lucky stars for him. So he, you can share what you think about
Yeah, I mean, he was
along the process.
the dad with the video camera.
Yeah, he's Clark Griswold.
Yeah, at the appointments, it's like it was great. It was so just invested and just so caring. I think that's one of the things that I loved about y'all too, is just how y'all loved us as people. You loved and cared about us as people, not just as carriers. I remember Aiden, I think, was he 6 or 7 at the time when this started? And
6, yeah.
Yes, he was 6. And I remember him bringing a gift to our girls. I think it was when we met or at one of the appointments. But I know you tell the story about how he just prayed to be a big brother and prayed to have siblings, and just, it was so sweet. He handed the girls a gift, and his whole heart was, thank you for helping me have a brother and sister. And it was just so sweet how our families were a part of the process and the journey. And my husband was at the hospital with me. He was at the transfer and took time off of work and helped me with my cravings, my pregnancy cravings. When you go through IVF, you go through all of the progesterone shots and the estrogen and all those things that are months long. And so he was my nightly, progesterone shot in the butt, at a certain time every night.
Yes.
He would come and help do that. So just having a supportive husband, a supportive spouse, a support team through the process, even if you're single, just having a support team is just so crucial. So crucial. I can't imagine doing it by myself. I think you're
sorry.
It's okay. There's like a dramatic pause.
Well, we have a puppy. So let's just be real honest here. I'm in my bedroom. This is where I can have my quiet time. And I've got my 3 kids. And we have a puppy who is barking, and I'm trying to mute it so that you don't hear her barking right now.
It's all good. Mine is in
just
her
keeping
crate.
It real.
Yeah, mine is in her crate. And at one today, I'm going to look at a new puppy to potentially bring another one to our house. So I understand. We are dog
Oh my
lovers.
gosh, we're thinking about the same thing. Are we crazy? Has this quarantine made us crazy?
They're hard to find dogs right now because I've tried.
Yeah.
They're hard to find.
Yeah. Okay, let's do another viewer question. I'll do one to you. This is from Lindsay C. Did you already have children the first time you decided to become a surrogate?
We did. Our girls, when we first did the first journey, they were 4 and 6. So, and that's something that agencies, to become a surrogate, most often, from what I know, they do want you to have prior experience carrying children, right? Because you want somebody who is a proven carrier. So yes, we had 2 girls, Trinity and Selah. We still have them. They are now 17 and 15. Jesus, take the wheel. And they're great girls.
Jesus, take the wheel is right. They're great girls.
They really are.
Great job.
They really are. But it became just a family mission. Some people ask, well, how did you tell your girls? And
right, that was a question that we had.
Was that the next one? And so we just kind of presented it because they were little. So we presented it as, you are the biggest blessings that God has given us. And what do you think about us helping another family be as blessed as we are? And mommy being pregnant and carrying somebody else's baby. So that was as simple as we could do it. I know there's some books out there like Kangaroo Pouch, simple kids books that talk about it and the process. But that's how we did it. And the girls were on board. We made it a family decision. We even said, mommy might not be able to do as much things, and daddy would have to do more. What do you think about that? And mommy's like, yeah.
I love it.
I know, but they have been super, super supportive. At one point, Selah was younger, and the first set of twins I carried were boys, and she was like, I want a brother.
You're like,
we're done. So my husband
yes.
is fixed. So we are done. As far as our own family, unless we choose to adopt in the future, which is on my heart to do, but we'll see what God has.
I did not know that,
Yes,
Tiffany.
so we'll see. I don't know. Getting older and who knows? Who knows? Or foster. I don't know.
Yes. I can see you doing that. And you know what? I think every woman should experience the love of a little boy. Oh my gosh.
I can't even imagine. I see that, like, just little boys loving their mamas.
They
like,
do. They love their mommies.
Like,
Yep.
girl, where you at?
I mean, it's just so sweet. But of course, having a girl is just as amazing. So, but that's really, I did not know that. So we'll have to talk more later about that.
Yes. Sure.
So people ask me the same question, how do we tell Aiden? And, you were saying earlier, every night when Aiden was little, from the age of 3 until we told him that we were having the twins, he would pray. And at first it was, God, will you please bring me a brother? And then it was, God, would you bring me a brother or a sister? And then I'll never forget, we were in the midst of our infertility journey, which we never told him about. We wanted to protect him from that. And he one night stood up on his bed and looked at the ceiling and screamed, God, do you hear me? I want a brother and a sister. And then, it just ripped my heart out. Oh my and I remember just thinking, okay, God, because my first thought was, I've got to protect him and tell him, don't pray that. That's a very bold prayer. And, I didn't know what was going to happen. But then I just thought, no, that's his prayer. And I have to trust that God hears his heart and knows all of our heart's desires. And so I remember saying to God right then in that moment, okay, I trust you and I'm turning this over to you. And so with that in mind, when we became pregnant and found out that we were having the boy and the girl,
I remember.
I know.
I remember that moment with the sonogram. I remember you just, just so excited.
So excited and also terrified. Not really, but it got very real really fast. And that afternoon we found out, because we had done the genetic testing, we found out that afternoon, once the heartbeats were confirmed, the sexes of the baby. And that was just an amazing moment. So we sat Aiden down, we recorded this, and this is in the memoir, but we just said to him, you know how you've been praying for so long about something? And he said, a baby? And we said, yes. And we said, you're going to be a big brother. And he went, because he was, 6 at the time. And, God answered, your prayers. It took a long time, but he answered your prayers, Aiden. And you were so bold in prayer and you never gave up. And that's, oh, here we go. I know. But we, a 6-year-old boy gave me that gift, that lesson, that spiritual lesson, so powerful. And so he just kept going, and so we said, you're going to be a big brother. And guess what? It's twins, and it's a boy and a girl, just like you prayed for. Wow. And he came over to me and he kissed my belly. And I knew we were going to tell him in stages, because this is a lot. It's like drinking from a fire hose. This is a lot of information. But I knew right then when he kissed my tummy that I couldn't hold it any longer. And I talk about this in the book too, but I said, Aiden, mommy's tummy's broken. And he kind of looked at me and he said, what do you mean? And I said, I can't keep babies. I can't get pregnant. And he said, well, what do you mean? And so I said, my tummy's broken and we've been to doctors. And he said, well, then where are they? And I said, well, do you remember Tiffany? She's our special angel and we're borrowing her kangaroo pouch. And he's such a smart kid. And he was like, this is weird. This is weird.
This is weird.
And I kind of laughed and I said, Aiden, it is weird, but it's so awesome because she's our special angel and we're borrowing her pouch because it's not broken. So she's going to carry your brother and sister until they're born, and then they'll be ours forever. And his question was, well, how did you transport your baby into her?
Good question.
So we just said, we took a cell from mommy and a cell from daddy, and the doctor grew, the baby, and then put the baby in Tiffany's kangaroo pouch. And then he was like, okay, can I go play outside now? And then he was done, like kids are.
Yeah.
But, I think to kind of skip down, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, why would you choose surrogacy over adoption? It wasn't that we excluded the idea of adoption. That was our next step. And we just knew that since we had those embryos, that we couldn't just leave them there forever. We had to at least try. And another question that I get asked a lot is, gosh, it sounds like it's so expensive. And it's, it is something that I think has kind of I don't want to say a bad rap, but you think of celebrities
right. Yeah.
As doing it because they may not want to, ruin their bodies or whatever. That's really not ever the case, even for the celebrities. They're just the ones that we all know about and have the financial means to do it. Surrogacy is expensive. And that's one of the reasons why it's on my heart to share the story of surrogacy, to make it more affordable for people and to make insurance companies consider paying for it. We need to really spread awareness of it. But the thing is, when you explore surrogacy, kind of the steps, I don't want to go through all the steps. They're on my website, yourangelwings.net, kind of from our perspective.
Great. Mm-hmm.
A to Z, what we went through. But the first three things, if you're interested, talk to a fertility specialist and get that testing done if, you think you might be infertile, or if you've been diagnosed with being, infertile. Talk to your specialist about this. See if it's an option for you. And then, of course, you would need to go through IVF and embryo freezing if you're able to. And if you're not, then you can look at, surrogacy, the traditional surrogacy form, and then also contact a surrogacy agency. Those are the first three steps that I would say. But yes, it's expensive, and people always ask, or are afraid to ask, what does it cost? And, including everything, lawyers, IVF, just all of the fees and so forth, the compensation for the gestational carrier or surrogate. Yes, it was in excess of $100,000 for us. I know that number can vary a little bit, but that's not all upfront cost. And so if you do get the green light from your potential infertility doctor to move forward, then you would move forward. And if you go through egg freezing and you don't get any eggs, then that's when you might pause and think, is this something that I want to continue exploring? Do we have the money, or do we need to look at something else? And if you do get that green light, then you would move forward to the next step and, looking at surrogates and seeing what that costs. And Tiffany, you can kind of talk about when we signed our contract with you, we both had lawyers, which is very important. It's very important to have a contract and to utilize all of the people that are available to you, from the surrogacy agency to your kind of a third party insurance reviewer, all of those things. But can you tell people from your perspective, our contract, it wasn't just a one and done. It was within that three or the year-long period, you had 3 different opportunities to try and get pregnant. Is that correct?
Right. So standard, from what I know, standard is up to 3 tries, up to a year. So it's, you're willing to try three IVF cycles over the course of a year. So
right.
You're right. I just went, I'm in the process of a 4th journey. and just experienced a very early pregnancy loss with an embryo transfer. The beta pregnancy test came back, yes, you're pregnant. And then the next time it was like, maybe. And then the third test was like, nope, you're not. And that was very hard to go through for me and for the family. And so we're in the process of they're figuring out if they want to try again. So, so we do have that in the contract to try up to 2 more times over a year. But statistically, at least right now with the fertility clinic I'm at, like you said, it's not a one and done. Statistically, they'll tell you, I think right now it's like a 40% chance of getting pregnant from one cycle.
Right.
So, it's not a sure thing. Once you get a proven carrier, great embryos, at the end of the day, we do our part and have to just leave it in God's hands.
That's right. But what people need to understand is all of these costs, that can be such a very scary thing for people, and I understand. But all of these costs are not incurred at the beginning. You
Correct.
you kind of take step one, then you pay for whatever that portion of the treatment would be, and then you would take step two, and if you get the green light or if you feel good about your odds, then you would move forward there. And so even compensation for surrogates and gestational carriers is on a monthly basis, and it's not something that, again, is an upfront cost. So I think it's a lot easier to move forward and take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Especially from a financial standpoint, because it is so expensive. Once, you have a plan in place and you start getting those green lights and those encouraging moments.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And like you mentioned, just bringing the awareness, there are insurances that are starting to cover fertility treatments. That's getting more, it's still slim, but that's getting more widely out there. People are getting really creative in fundraising. I've seen T-shirt sales to GoFundMes, early, I can't think of the word, but like family members giving their kids money when they die. What is that called? Inheritance. Sorry, I've been pregnant a few times. So early inheritance gifts, so that grandparents can see grandbabies, so people are getting really creative, and if they have that on their heart, are trying and going for it and doing it step by step and figuring it out.
Right. And then something else to anyone that's watching, if it is something, if you have a loved one, a sister or a best friend that is really struggling, and you're touched by our story, and just by their barrenness, that is, oh my goodness, such an amazing way to bless them. And of course, you will be blessed in return, by God, no doubt in my mind. But and then there's also, I know there's loans and things like that fertility clinics offer, like through third-party agencies too. So there's many, I'm all about the loopholes, and there's many opportunities and loopholes in this process too. So don't let the money part discourage you if that's the only thing that's really stopping you from considering surrogacy. Okay, let's see, Tiffany, another viewer question, and I have had this question asked a lot, and I'm curious to know, was it hard when you gave birth to give up the babies that you carried for 9 months? Can you talk to people about that?
I think that's the number one question I get. For sure, is what was it like to give up the babies?
Right.
And the first thing I realized and said, because I'm like, oh yeah, after the fact, I was like, I get that question. But the way I'm wired is I am logical. I am cognitive first. I'm a very head person. I think first. So logically, I came into this knowing what my role was. And I see myself as an auntie, as a godparent, as just another support system. So I knew what my role was. My role was not to be the mom. My role was to be a piece of the puzzle and to carry and to be a support, a dream carrier, and to help carry that dream forward until we gave birth. And so I think that helped for me. You know, a lot of my friends are super emotive and super big feelers, and I know that would be super hard for them to do if you're very emotive. And so I was definitely invested. I was definitely connected, but I was connected to the role and what
Right.
my role was, not to the babies as my babies, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
And so I remember delivering the first set of twins and being in there back then. When the photographer comes around, you know, they take pictures of the babies and they wheel in the cart with the TV and the DVD, and the photographer had like done this little thing to music and put the babies' pictures in. You know, they're trying to sell
Oh, yes.
those infant pictures, and they put it to music, and then their scriptures go in, and it's like, I prayed for you and all that. And I was kind of in the background while the mom was holding one of the babies, the dad was holding the other baby, and they're in my view. And then in front of them is this slideshow with music and scriptures and all these things. And it was probably day 2, like after giving birth. And I just remember crying because it was just such a beautiful moment to see them carrying and holding their babies. Like, it was just so beautiful, and just to be a piece of the puzzle. And you know, I remember when your babies were born, and after, because it's C-section for me, did C-sections, and you and Dirk being in the room and having the babies given to you, and you bringing them over to my head because, you know, I'm still strapped down, and showing me them, and just the glow on your face. And you know, so
You're making me cry.
those are the moments. I mean, it was about y'all and your family. It wasn't about me and the babies. So,
Yeah. But
yeah.
you know, we talked about this, you know, even before they were born. We couldn't imagine you not being a part of their lives, you know, once they were born. And so you are very much an auntie, and Stella and Smith call you their special angel. They know exactly who you are. They know exactly their story. And you know, one of the things that I've read some comments on Facebook about how, you know, oh my goodness, when kids are older and they find out that they were born via surrogate, you know, how's that going to make them feel? And it's going to make them feel, you know, less than. And you know, for us, we've been speaking about their journey and how they got here and how much they were loved and prayed for since they were born. Now they really weren't able to comprehend it until probably a year ago. And like you said, there are great books out there, but we want them to know, first of all, you know, just how special you are for doing it, and just how, like I said, loved and prayed for they are. And if you talk about it, it's not going to be something that's traumatic. You know, as long as you have that open communication.
Absolutely. It's normal, right? Because that's their world. It's normal. That is, you know, same with my kids. Surrogacy is normal for them.
Right.
You
Right.
know, hearing other people's babies is normal. And it's just a
Yes.
part of what we do and a part of us and our story. And it's
That's
beautiful.
right. It is. And so let's just talk about, like, since the babies have been born, what our relationship is like. So your whole family came to their first birthday. You've come up to visit us. We've come down to see you all in Texas. We see each other a couple times a year. We talk a lot. We have a ministry together, Baby Blessings Ministry, and it's for, well, you want to talk about?
Yeah, so it's a hope ministry. It's a remember ministry. So we have hope makers who hand knit prayer squares, baby beanies, and then we also have the prayer crosses like you held when you went to IVF, I believe, if I remember that correctly. So we have these faith objects that we pray over and our hope makers pray over. And when people are in the trying to conceive, the TTC, infertility stage, or if they've experienced a loss, we provide these for free, and just
That's
let them
right.
know that they're not alone and they can hold on to something in faith and know that they're being prayed for. We care about them, and we're crying with them too when they've experienced a loss, because it's understood and they're not alone. So our heart is hopefully in the future to have family building scholarships
Yes.
to help defray some of the costs of that in the future. But absolutely, our heart is for God. And I know, especially with your memoir too, in your ministry, the heart is for God to use our journey and our story to encourage and to bring hope and faith to other people.
Amen.
Help them fulfill their faith dreams as well.
Yes. Yes.
So tell us about your memoir. Tell us about that. I know it's coming out soon.
Yes, it's called Angel Wings, and it's in tandem with my website, Your Angel Wings, and it's my infertility journey. It's my story, and kind of the reason for this is when I was going through my first miscarriage, I was by myself. It was Thanksgiving weekend, and I sent Dirk and Aiden to a family Thanksgiving dinner, and I was really scared. Not only, for the physical things that were happening to me, but just emotionally and mentally. And I drove myself to Barnes and Noble, and I walked in, and I love Barnes and Noble, so I don't want to say anything negative here, but they're a part of my story. Mm-hmm. And I asked the lady at the counter, I said, where is your section on infertility and miscarriage? And I was told it was an odd request, and they had nothing available to help me. And I got in my car and I sobbed. And of course, this was my first miscarriage, but God laid it on my heart right then and there. He said, you are going to write a book, and you're going to help the next person. And I, of course, had no idea where my journey would take me. That would be very long and full of ups and downs. But this is such an isolating experience for women. There's so many stigmas that are attached to infertility and miscarriage, and we have to break that stigma and provide hope for these women. And so that's what my book does. And hopefully it also highlights, the importance of surrogacy and just, like I said, just give hope to those that come after me. So that's the story.
Absolutely. I love it. I can't wait. I think it's so needed, just being in the trying to conceive community since 2009. I mean, there's so many women, statistically right now it's 1 in 8 1 in 8 couples under the age of 35 who are diagnosed with infertility. And that means you've been trying for at least a year to get pregnant, right, and unsuccessful to get pregnant, right, or to sustain a pregnancy. And if you're over 35, the statistics are 1 in 6. So, I think, what is that? 12 to 15% of our couples are not alone. And
not
so
alone.
That's tons of people. And so we can help, to bring hope and to bring awareness to each person's unique journey. Yes. And knowing, that they pray, they know what they're supposed to do, and they go for it. Yes. And that's what I love about our story.
Yes, absolutely. One thing that people ask me all the time, Tiffany, is, were you ever jealous of Tiffany when she was carrying your babies? And I can honestly say I never, ever, ever had an ounce of jealousy or envy towards you. It was the exact opposite. It was just love and adoration and appreciation, because this was a bonus round for me and for Dirk. And I knew I was convicted that I was not supposed to have another baby myself. I knew that was not an option for me. And so I was just so grateful. And so if anyone's curious about that, I think if you're going through infertility and you need help, those feelings of jealousy that you might be concerned about or worried about, they won't happen. They really won't. And then another question that I was asked by Brittany M was, how was the experience overall? I mean, could not have been a better experience. It was a 10 out of 10 for us. No, it was more than that. It was a 12 out of 10. Tiffany, I laugh now because you were so professional and so sweet the whole time. I mean, just the consummate professional. And after you and I became friends, after the pregnancy was over and we really continued and deepened our friendship, you're hilarious. And, like have this witty sense of humor. And I never really, you were just always so sweet and kind, but you really kind of opened up. And I think that's the bonus for me, is that like, you're a sister to me. And our ministry and our friendship and our family's relationships are just such a big bonus in all of this.
Really is. Not long ago, Trinity got to babysit the twins and the twins' cousins.
Yes.
It's so fun.
Full circle.
I know. It's so fun.
Full circle. I mean, we have a ton of questions. I don't know how much.
I know. We have a ton
time.
of questions.
I mean, as I mentioned, a lot of we kind of went A to Z on my website, yourangelwings.net. If you click on steps to becoming, to getting our gestational carrier, we kind of break that down. And Tiffany, you want to tell everyone about what it is that you do?
Yes. So I can be found at tiffanyjobaker.com, and I really help go-getters and multifaceted mamas at heart. So those who are multifaceted, so that at heart plays on those who are already mamas and those who are mamas at heart who are ready to be mamas. And so just helping ladies fuel and fulfill their faith journey. So I speak, I write, I have a vodcast called All the Things TV with Tiffany Jo Baker, and just helping to provide soul care, self-care, and dream care as women are on their journeys and doing the things that they were created to do and called to do. So it's pretty neat because through the surrogacy journey, my husband and I have been in marriage and family ministry since we got married, so 20 years. I have a master's in counseling. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm like, okay, God, what about after delivering other people's babies? I've carried 5 for 3 families. Like, it's like, what do you even do with your life after that? I mean, like, how do you even top that?
How do you top that?
I want to be, like, am I done? Like, God, are you taking me? I mean, is that it? And honestly, I went through a little bit of mourning and be like, okay, God, like, what's next? And through the process, he kind of just showed me, like, this is how I use you. I use you as a dream carrier. Like some people in the kingdom of God, the word talks about some people are hands and feet. And God's like, I made you a womb, and you help to carry people's dreams. You're a dream carrier. Come alongside women and help them carry and fulfill and do and birth their dreams, what God's put on their heart. So that's a little
Love that.
about, it was so cool when God just downloaded that. I'm like, that makes sense. Like, just, behind the scenes, I just come alongside strong women and go-getters, and those who don't feel like they're go-getters, but they are, to just take the next step, to do the next right thing, and just help them and encourage them along the way. So
it's amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, we hope that this has been helpful and inspirational to anyone that's considering being a surrogate or a gestational carrier, or that's considering hiring a gestational carrier or a surrogate. You can always find us online. Tiffany, you want to give your website one more time?
Yes, tiffanyjobaker.com.
And then your social media?
At Tiffany Jo Baker. Pretty simple.
Whoop, whoop. And then you've got a free download on your website.
I do for people who are going through infertility and trying to conceive. I actually have my 4 free fertility resources. So it comes with a webinar I did on how to have a baby without losing your man or your mind. And it's 5 keys to a strong marriage and a smooth journey. So I've coupled that with a quiz, a download. And so it's my 4 free. So you can go to, I think it's tiffanyjobaker.com/4 free for fertility and get that for free.
Awesome.
And
well,
tell
you
us
are you're a blessing. Well, you can find my website is yourangelwings.net. My memoir, Angel Wings, is coming out August of 2020. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Angel Wings Steph. And, you know, to anyone out there, if you find yourself hopeless, I've been there. And my prayer is that my website and my story will give you hope and encourage you, whether you are infertile or fertile. And if you're challenged in your family building, I do have a complimentary gift as well on my website, and it's a 30-day devotional, and it was all of the favorite scriptures that I prayed during my infertility journey. And so if you're infertile or going through a miscarriage or going through IVF, there's some great verses in the devotional that will be helpful to you, and they're beautiful. There's so many helpful scriptures in the Bible. And so, you know, for me, I just want to say to everyone that's watching, you know, wherever you are in your family building journey, this is just a step in your journey, and it's not the end of your story. And it's not a question of if you will have a baby, but how, whether it's through, you know, traditional means or assisted means or a surrogate, a carrier, adoption, fostering. Just believe and have hope.
Amen. I could not say that. I can't top it, so I'm not going to try. Thank you, Steph. I so enjoy our time together, and I know this is going to help so many families, and maybe we'll do it again. We'll see.
For sure.
Sounds
Love
great.
you, Tiff.
Love you. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everyone.